Now, at its narrowest point, how wide is the Strait of Hormuz?
I think it's about 12 miles, but I'd have to check.
It's 24 miles, but 12 miles is actually the relevant number because that's the navigable channel.
That's the international water navigable channel point.
And do you know how many barrels of oil transited the Strait of Hormuz each day before the war started?
I don't know the exact number, but you're looking at over 100 oil tankers usually transited a day, or 120 a day would transport the strait.
Yeah, and so 20 million barrels a day, and right now they're at an 81% reduction.
Before the shouting, before the spin, one congressman reduced America's Iran war to a single, devastating question. If this war was planned, why does nobody seem ready to explain the price? In a tense Capitol Hill showdown, Congressman Eugene Vindman cornered Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over exploding oil prices, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, dead American soldiers, and whether the White House dragged the country into exactly the kind of Middle East war voters were promised it would avoid. This wasn't just another committee hearing. It was the first major House confrontation since the Iran war began, and Vindman came armed with a prosecutorial theory that the administration understood the risks, launched the strike anyway, and now refuses to fully own the consequences. What made the exchange so explosive is that Vindman didn't begin with ideology. He began with math, oil prices, shipping lanes, fuel costs, and the strategic choke point that can shake the global economy faster than any speech from Washington.
Thank you. Earlier, Secretary Hegseth, you talked about flexible realism. So let's see if we can figure out how much of it is realistic and how much of it is just flexible. Secretary Hegseth, last year I asked you some questions about Indo-PACOM and threats in Europe, and you had a hard time answering those questions. I'm sure you prepped better this year, and I'm hoping you can answer some of these basic questions since now we are at war. Do you know what the price of oil is today?
I don't know where it's gone as of this time of this hearing, but roughly $100 a barrel.
It's actually closer to 120, 117.
Well, it depends on the index you're looking at.
I'm looking at Brent. Do you know what the price was the day before of Brent, the day before we went to war?
It was certainly lower. You understand you're taking some economic risk. But I would note,
a lot lower.
The energy dominance this president has unleashed has put us in an incredible position.
Thank you. So it's $72, and so now we have a 62% increase. By the way, the department obviously will be paying those extra fuel costs. That's going to be not insignificant, but so will the American people. Now, at its narrowest point, how wide is the Strait of Hormuz?
I think it's about 12 miles, but I'd have to check.
It's 24 miles, but 12 miles is actually the relevant number because that's the navigable channel.
That's the international water navigable channel point.
And do you know how many barrels of oil transited the Strait of Hormuz each day before the war started?
I don't know the exact number, but you're looking at over 100 oil tankers usually transited a day, or 120 a day would transport the strait.
Yeah, and so 20 million barrels a day, and right now they're at an 81% reduction. So it sounds like you've done your homework. You're tracking pretty well what the strategic situation is. So a couple of questions. Were you aware that if we struck Iran, that they would most likely close the Strait of Hormuz?
Once Vindman shifts to the deaths of 6 soldiers, the hearing changes tone completely. This is no longer about barrel prices and transit lanes. It becomes a question every war eventually reaches. Who signed off? Who failed to protect the troops? And who is willing to say the buck stops here? Vindman tries to force Hegseth into that moral lane by connecting past concerns over operational security with fresh battlefield casualties.
Of course, our department was prepared and planning for every possible contingency, being front and center as something they may do in a desperate state to attempt to
which is what they've done,
some kind of control.
And I appreciate that. And earlier you told Mr. Moulton that this department has looked at all aspects of the risk and that the president got every possible perspective. And then recently you just said that the president did understand the risks and had the courage to undertake the endeavor nonetheless, and that's leadership, or words to that effect, pretty close. And so I just want to kind of give you the state of play right now. It's been 2 months of war. We have hopes for a resolution, but the war continues, really. Iran has closed the strait, and we've now gone in and blockaded their ports. 1/5 of the world's oil is unable to transit the strait, and the American people and the department are paying significantly more. And you also said that this is what the American people actually voted for. But actually, the American people voted for a promise not to get into Middle Eastern wars. And they voted for lower prices. And this is the exact opposite of what they got. So let me ask you this. The president ordered the strike, is that correct?
The president's been saying for over 30 years that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So he's been
got it.
very clear as a
We're
position.
talking
When
about
the American people voted for President Trump overwhelmingly, they voted for that
I got
position.
that, but the president ordered the strike. Is that correct?
Which strike are you referring to?
The strike on Iran, the war that we're in.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Okay.
he's the commander-in-chief.
So
He's
it
made
sounds
the calls.
It sounds like you're blaming Daddy for the mess we're in, and I don't think he's going to be particularly happy with you.
I see what you're trying to do. There's no daylight in this administration on
Mr.
this
Secretary, I'm
campaign,
asking
and
the
I'm happy
questions. You've been
to
admonished
stand
for this
shoulder to shoulder
before.
with this
You're
administration.
claiming my time. So let's shift gears. Last time we were here, I asked you if you'd apologize to the mother of an F-18 pilot whose son you endangered for sharing classified information on a signal chat. You refused. On March 1st, 6 Army soldiers, including a constituent of mine, were killed by an Iranian drone strike. Do you take any responsibility for those deaths?
I was there at Dover when they came back. Of course, I take
So was I.
responsibility for every aspect
Well, I
of this
appreciate
mission.
that, because you also complained about the fact that tragic things happen. The news makes it front-page news. The press only wants to make the president look bad. Is it about the soldiers, or is it about the president looking bad?
It's not just the president who wants, or the media that wants to make him look bad. It's you.
It's actually about the soldiers, and it's frankly reprehensible that you would make that statement. And so, you know, Truman had a sign on his desk that said the buck stops here, and this is
Notice what Hegseth does in these exchanges. He rarely accepts Vindman's framing directly. He pivots back to presidential authority, battlefield necessity, and partisan motives. Vindman, meanwhile, keeps dragging the conversation back to consequence: fuel, shipping, dead troops, and whether loyalty to the commander-in-chief has replaced accountability to the public. That clash between narrative control and fact pattern pressure is what makes this hearing feel less like routine oversight and more like an indictment in fragments. Eugene Vindman's questioning hit because it stripped away the slogans. He forced a simple, brutal chain of accountability onto the screen. The president ordered the strike. Iran tightened the Strait of Hormuz. Oil and war costs surged. American troops died. And the administration still insists this is strength. Whether viewers agree with Vindman politically is almost beside the point. The exchange matters because it captured the central fear hanging over this war, that Washington may know how to launch it, but still cannot clearly explain how it ends, what it ultimately costs, or who answers for the fallout. And in modern politics, that's when a hearing stops being oversight and starts becoming evidence.